What if you could control your mind no matter how wild the world around you becomes? What if, like a prism bending light, you could shape your perception, remain calm, and choose peace in the face of chaos? Sounds impossible, right? Well, it isn't. In fact, it's one of the most powerful tools you can possess if you dare to master it. Imagine holding a prism up to the light. A single pure beam enters, but what emerges is a dazzling spectrum of colors, reds, blues, greens, all determined by the angle, shape, and clarity of the glass. This is how the Stoics viewed our minds, just like that prism. The events of the world, those beams of light, are neutral. They arrive without meaning, without intention, and without power to harm us, unless we choose to give them that power. What you experience in this world doesn't depend on the events themselves, but on how your mind refracts them. Just like the light, how you bend, twist, or clarify those events determines your perception. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." He understood that perception was everything. It wasn't the world that shaped him. It was his ability to shape how he saw the world. Your emotional state, your peace or torment, doesn't come from the world around you, but from how you choose to see it. This is the core of Stoic philosophy. But don't mistake this for a soft reflection on life's unpredictability. This isn't a meditation on the chaos of the world. This is a call to arms, a battle cry for those willing to reclaim control over their own minds. The truth is harsh. The world will never be calm, but you can be. That is the one thing that is completely within your control. And here's the thing, sometimes simply getting out of bed each day is an act of courage. In a world full of uncertainty, conflict, and expectation, it requires a courage that is often unrecognized. It's not the grand acts of bravery that define us. It's the quiet persistence, the ability to rise one more time, to face one more challenge, to keep going when life feels unbearable. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They believed the courage to endure, to persist without complaint, and to continue even when everything seems to be against you is the foundation of all other virtues. Without this courage, no other virtue can thrive. The chapters ahead are not merely academic exercises, they are practical blueprints. They are the steps toward achieving apatheia, freedom from passion, disturbance, and the tyranny of things beyond your control. We won't just explore Stoic philosophy as an intellectual pursuit. We will bring it into your daily life. We will walk together through mental exercises that will train your mind to remain calm in any situation, no matter how turbulent. Just like a strong body is built through resistance, repetition, and ruthless honesty, so is a strong mind. Chapter 1. The Nature of Calm. You are the prism. The world is chaotic and people will insult you. Life will disappoint you. Events will spiral beyond your control. Circumstances will not align with your desires. And people will often act in ways you don't expect. The Stoics didn't shy away from this reality. They looked it squarely in the eye and embraced it without flinching. This is where your journey begins. And it's up to you whether you continue it. You control how you see the world. The question is, will you choose calm? Will you choose the strength to remain unshaken? No. What if the key to overcoming life's challenges isn't controlling the world around you, but mastering the way you perceive it? What if the storms that seem to shake us the most are only as powerful as the way we choose to see them? Let's dive into the Stoic wisdom that teaches us how to reclaim control by controlling the only thing that truly belongs to us, our mind. The Stoics believed that it wasn't the external world, the storms, the waves, the noise that disturbed us. No, it was our interpretation of these things that truly unsettled us. It is not the storm that disturbs the sailor, but how he perceives the storm. Think about that for a moment. The events of the world are like light entering a prism, neutral, indifferent, without any inherent malice or meaning. What enters your mind may be the light of tragedy, betrayal, hardship, or even good fortune. But how that light is split, whether into sorrow or strength, bitterness or growth, rage or resolve, is entirely your choice. That choice, the Stoics taught, is what truly gives us power. The mind, they said, is the ultimate filter. It is the one variable in the equation of life that we can always control. No matter what happens to us, no matter the circumstances, we always have the power to control how we respond. Let's take a look at Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and emperors of Rome. Every morning he didn't wake to peace or ease, but to a battlefield of political intrigue, betrayal, illness, and war. His empire was teetering on the edge of chaos. His friends and allies plotted behind his back, and his body was ravaged by illness and fatigue. Yet despite all of this, in the quiet hours of dawn, before the machinery of power began grinding, Marcus would sit and write to himself, not as an emperor, but as a student of life. In those private reflections, he constantly reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not external events. He understood something profound. Realize this, and you will find strength. Think about it. A man with the weight of the world on his shoulders, surrounded by deception, disease, and death, returning always to the same conclusion that calm and strength are not found in the absence of problems, but in the mastery of how we perceive those problems. This is where we begin. Not by attempting to control the uncontrollable, not by trying to bend the world to our will, but by learning how to control how we see the world, by stepping back from the noise and seeing not just the events themselves, but the layers of interpretation that we have unconsciously wrapped around them. The Stoics teach us to become vigilant custodians of our inner dialogue. We must be aware of how the stories we tell ourselves about each situation can either bind us in chains or set us free. It requires ruthless honesty to admit how often we embellish facts with assumptions, exaggerations, and fears. A simple look, a missed call, a change in plans, these can become insults, betrayals, disasters, not because they are, but because we assign them such weight in our minds. The Stoics encourage us to unweave these stories, to strip life down to its raw ingredients, and then to choose deliberately how we will season them. By becoming aware of the narratives we create about what happens, we reclaim authorship of our own experience. In doing so, we can craft a story that empowers us instead of imprisoning us. A story that allows us to meet life with resilience, poise, and grace. This, the Stoics taught, is where true freedom lies. Not in the absence of difficulty, but in the ability to decide what that difficulty means to us. Here's a practice to get you started. Each evening, write down 3 events that disturbed your peace that day. Then beside each one, write how you could have seen it differently. How would a Stoic reinterpret that event? Now, as we dive deeper into Stoic wisdom, remember, you have the power to change your perspective, and that in turn will change your life. What if I told you that every insult, every bit of envy, and every moment of bitterness you allow to linger in your mind only weakens your control? It's not just a fleeting emotion, it's a force that can shape your reality if you let it. So how do we reclaim power over our minds amidst the chaos and negativity that constantly surrounds us? Let's explore how you can protect your peace step by step. If you let insult, envy, or bitterness linger in your mind, you essentially make them your masters. These intruders will dictate the rhythm of your heart and cloud the clarity of your thoughts. The emotional atmosphere you breathe becomes the very air of your inner world. Imagine that. Just like the weather outside, the emotions that fill your mind can either be clear skies or a constant storm. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus warned us with surgical precision, if someone tried to take control of your body, you would fight for freedom. Yet how easily you hand over your mind to anyone who insults you. These are not just words, they are a reflection of a tragedy, how quickly we surrender our peace. We spend so much time and effort building fortresses to protect our possessions, but we often leave the gates of our minds wide open, allowing the thieves of calm to enter unchecked. Modern science now confirms what the Stoics understood millennia ago, even without the benefit of neuroscience or MRI machines. Studies on mirror neurons show that when you observe others in distress, fear, or rage, your brain reacts. The agitation of others ripples through your nervous system like an invisible current. Without conscious mental hygiene, you absorb these emotions without even realizing it. Your emotions become entangled with theirs until you can no longer distinguish between what belongs to you and what you've absorbed from others. So, the human mind left unguarded is a sponge for agitation. You may walk into a room filled with anger or panic, and long after you've left, still carry that energy with you. Not because it belongs to you, but because you unknowingly absorbed it. It seeps into you quietly, without your consent or awareness, until you suddenly find your mood darkened, your breathing shallow, your thoughts racing with unrest. That unrest is not yours, it was borrowed. It was absorbed from the people and environments around you. In today's world, this phenomenon is amplified. We are not only exposed to the emotions of those physically near us, but we are also bombarded by a constant barrage of digital noise. The news cycle thrives on this principle, feeding you outrage, conflict, and fear, colonizing your thoughts and influencing your behavior without you even noticing. Social media algorithms work tirelessly to push the most divisive, enraging, and emotionally charged content to the forefront. Every scroll, every headline, every notification drips more anxiety, more anger into your bloodstream. It becomes a slow, invisible poisoning of the soul. But here's the truth. This is not inevitable. You cannot stop others from being angry, anxious, or rude, but you can stop yourself from mirroring them. You can draw a clear boundary between their turmoil and your own internal landscape. You have the power to be the eye of the storm, the still point around which chaos swirls, but that chaos never touches you. This is not apathy. It's not coldness or detachment. This is sovereignty over your own mind. It's emotional discipline of the highest order. It's the sacred responsibility to choose moment by moment which emotions you allow to take root within you. It's the act of deciding again and again whether you will be ruled by the turbulence of others or remain steadfast in your own calm. It's the deliberate, often difficult, but always necessary practice of guarding your inner peace like a soldier guards a citadel. Not casually, not occasionally, but vigilantly and fiercely, knowing that the well-being of your entire inner world depends on that vigilance. Here's a challenge for you. For one entire day, practice emotional fasting. Whenever someone attempts to provoke you, whether through rudeness, urgency, or negativity, imagine their words bouncing off an impenetrable shield around your mind. Let it bounce, let it pass, and choose instead to protect your peace. What if I told you the secret to lasting peace isn't about escaping the chaos of life, but learning to be fully present in the middle of it? To find serenity, you don't need to change the world around you. You just need to change your focus to ground yourself in the here and now. Let's explore how the power of the present can unlock a calm that endures through anything. To be calm is to be present. It's about being rooted in the here and now, unaffected by the currents of speculation or the shadows of memory. Anxiety, as the Stoics understood, is born in the future. It's the child of uncertainty and imagination, crafted from events that have yet to happen and may never happen at all. Regret, on the other hand, is a ghost that haunts the past, tormenting you with what could have been. It echoes yesterday's mistakes, chaining you to things that are beyond your control, beyond your ability to change. The Stoics recognized this simple but profound truth. Peace can only exist in the present moment. It is right here, right now, in this very breath that your power lies waiting to be claimed. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." He was teaching us that happiness, serenity, and calm are never found in the imaginary projections of tomorrow or in the endless replaying of yesterday's failures. They are found only in this moment, in the pure, undistorted, and free space of the present, like a clear sky unobstructed by clouds. Every time you replay an insult or a wrong, you surrender the present. You let someone's careless words steal your time twice, once when they were spoken, and again each time you relive them in your mind. You grant them permission to disrupt your peace again and again. And every time you worry about what might happen tomorrow, you abandon your power. You waste your energy on events that may never even come to pass. You allow shadows of possible futures to cast darkness over your present reality, turning the bright light of now into the gloomy uncertainty of what if. A Stoic understands that all problems are born when the mind leaves the present moment. When you mentally transport yourself into a future that isn't real or a past that cannot be altered, you detach from the one thing you truly possess, the present moment. It's here, in the now, that you can act, that you can think clearly, and that you can find peace. To be calm, then, is not to be free from challenge, but to be anchored in the present, rooted in the soil of what is unmoved by the winds of what was or what might be. A mind trained in this awareness becomes like a still lake, reflecting the sky without being disturbed by passing clouds. Thoughts of the future may arise, but they ripple across the surface without disturbing the depth. Memories of the past may visit, but they drift away like leaves carried by the breeze. This is not a skill you're born with. It is a practice, a discipline, and a choice you must make again and again. It's about living fully and freely within the narrow window of now. The more you return to the present, the stronger you become. Every time you bring yourself back from the distractions of the past or the anxieties of the future, you build resilience. You become invincible in the face of life's storms. You begin to realize that calm isn't something you seek in the world. It's something you construct within yourself, one breath at a time. It's not about silencing the mind completely. That's an impossible task because thought is the nature of the mind. But it's about learning to redirect your thoughts gently but firmly, like a rider guiding a restless horse. It's about standing watch over your awareness, recognizing when you've drifted away and patiently bringing yourself back again and again. With kindness, with discipline, with understanding. Your life is happening here, in this breath, in this step, in this moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, only now. What if I told you that the power to shape your life isn't somewhere out there, but right here, in this very moment? That the present isn't just a fleeting second, it's the seat of all power. The place where you can choose who you become, no matter what chaos surrounds you. Let's dive deeper into why this moment is the most powerful one you'll ever have. This exact second is where your agency resides. This is the seat of all power. The present is not merely a fleeting point in time. It is the axis upon which your entire existence turns. It is the only moment you truly possess, the only moment where thought meets action, where awareness meets reality. Everything else, your memories, your anticipations, are mere illusions painted by the mind. They are shadows dancing on the walls of your consciousness, fleeting and ungraspable. The present moment is not just a neutral space, it is the forge in which your character is shaped. It's the arena where your virtue is tested, the soil in which the seeds of your future are planted. This is the battleground where you choose moment by moment to exercise wisdom over impulse, clarity over confusion, courage over fear. Every choice you make here molds your destiny, for it is in this moment that you can rewrite the narrative of your life. It's not in grand resolutions or dramatic decisions. It's in the small, deliberate choices you make. That's where calm is born, not in the absence of noise, but in your ability to choose where your mind rests amidst the noise. It's not in the elimination of hardship, but in the unwavering awareness that you can meet it with composure. That's where strength is born, not from circumstances, but from choice. It's in this space that freedom is found, not in external conditions, but in the disciplined stewardship of your inner world. And once you learn to live in this space, not as a temporary refuge, but as a habit, a way of being, you will discover something extraordinary. You will realize that the present, when fully inhabited, is not a limitation, but an expansive, infinite wellspring of possibility. You'll come to understand that everything you seek, peace, joy, clarity, resilience, was never in the future or the past. It was right here all along, patiently waiting for you to return to it. To remind yourself of this power, carry a small coin in your pocket. Every time you find your mind drifting into the past or future, simply touch the coin. Let it serve as an anchor, gently pulling your awareness back to this moment, this breath. With each touch, you bring yourself back to the center of your own power, the present moment. Now that you know the power of the present moment, let's explore the next step on this journey. Voluntary discomfort. It may sound counterintuitive, but this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. A calm mind is not built in comfort. It is forged in adversity, hammered into shape like iron on an anvil. The Stoics understood that true resilience cannot be cultivated in softness or luxury. It is in discomfort, in challenge, in self-imposed hardship that the muscles of the mind are strengthened. They practiced voluntary discomfort not as masochists, but as warriors in training strategists, preparing themselves for the unpredictable, uncontrollable nature of life. The Stoics deliberately exposed themselves to discomfort. Why? Because they knew that the person who can endure discomfort by choice is far less shaken when discomfort arrives uninvited. They understood that the only difference between voluntary hardship and unexpected suffering is whether you are prepared or not. When discomfort becomes familiar, it loses its power to frighten you. It becomes a training ground rather than a battlefield. We, too, can train ourselves. When we deny ourselves small comforts, when we step outside of what is easy or pleasurable, we teach the mind a crucial lesson. Calm is not something granted by favorable conditions. It is something cultivated and carried within us, regardless of the conditions. By choosing discomfort, we strengthen our ability to remain calm, resilient, and poised in the face of life's inevitable challenges. What if every challenge you face, every discomfort could actually strengthen you? What if instead of avoiding hardship, you embraced it, knowing it would prepare you for the inevitable struggles ahead? Let's explore how voluntary discomfort not only toughens the mind, but also shapes it into something far more powerful. By embracing voluntary discomfort, you inoculate yourself against future hardship. You condition your mind to remain unshaken when life's inevitable difficulties knock at your door. It's like preparing for a storm by standing in the rain. You remind yourself that suffering at its core is often just a reaction to unfamiliarity. When you make discomfort familiar, you strip it of its power to unsettle you. Voluntary discomfort doesn't just toughen the mind, it teaches it. It becomes a silent tutor, gently stripping away the illusion that you need specific conditions to be happy, to be strong, or to feel whole. But it doesn't stop there. Voluntary discomfort teaches us far beyond the physical realm. It expands into the intellectual and emotional spheres as well. When you sit down to learn something new, when you engage in an activity that feels foreign, when you try something you've long avoided, due to the fear of failure, you're stepping into that same fire. You're choosing discomfort over safety. And in that discomfort you will be taught. Every beginner is uncomfortable. Every new skill feels unfamiliar. Every new concept feels like a storm of confusion. But when you voluntarily lean into that confusion, when you push through the frustration of not knowing, you transform into a student of discomfort. You begin to learn not only the skill itself, but a far greater lesson. Failure is not a threat, it's a teacher. Every mistake sharpens you. Every failure humbles you. Every stumble builds the muscle of persistence. Through this process, you'll discover that your fear of failure was often far more painful than failure itself. By throwing yourself into the fire, whether through physical hardship or intellectual struggle, you'll emerge stronger, clearer, and far more confident than before. You'll realize that calm is not found in knowing everything. It's found in knowing that you can face uncertainty, that you can face not knowing and still endure. Each small act of voluntary hardship, whether it's skipping a meal or waking up before dawn, whispers to your mind, I can endure, I can withstand, I am in control. These whispers accumulate into a belief that becomes an identity. And that belief becomes an identity rooted in inner power, not in external ease. It is through this process that you transition from being at the mercy of circumstance to mastering your response to it. Calm is not simply given to you, it is earned. It is shaped and practiced until it becomes unbreakable. This is the heart of Stoic philosophy, embracing the obstacles as opportunities. But what if the obstacles themselves aren't just challenges, but teachers? Let's dive deeper into this powerful perspective. Life will not cooperate with your plans. People will disappoint you. Systems will fail. Promises will be broken. Expectations will be dashed. And the world will often present you with challenges when you least expect them. These disruptions, though uncomfortable, are inevitable. The Stoics taught that every obstacle is a teacher, every hardship is an opportunity to sharpen the mind and fortify the spirit. They understood that life's trials aren't interruptions to the path, but part of the path itself. They are not detours, they are the curriculum. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." These words weren't just poetic, they were a practical guide to navigating life's inevitable struggles. They show us that the obstacles we encounter aren't there to stop us. They are there to guide us forward, to deepen our wisdom and to strengthen our resolve. Embrace the obstacles, learn from them, let them shape you. Because in the end, the obstacles aren't in your way, they are the way. What if I told you that the very things you resist in life, the obstacles, the setbacks, the struggles, are the very forces that shape and refine you? What if instead of avoiding adversity, you leaned into it, knowing it would forge your character and prepare you for greater strength? Let's dive deeper into how obstacles can become the tools for your transformation. He saw clearly that the things we resist, the barriers we despise, are precisely the things that shape us, teach us, and prepare us for what is to come. He understood that adversity is the grindstone upon which our character is honed. The calm mind does not resent obstacles, it welcomes them as the gymnasium of the soul. Each difficulty is a weight to lift, a challenge to rise, to a deliberate invitation to grow stronger. When plans crumble, the Stoic does not see defeat, but sees instruction. When people fail them, the Stoic does not dwell on betrayal, but examines how they themselves can respond with grace and dignity. Each setback is transformed into an exercise in patience, perseverance, and perspective. Obstacles stretch us beyond what we believed possible. They force us to become resourceful, adaptive, and patient. They strip away our illusions of control and expose the raw material of who we truly are. It is in the crucible of adversity that the Stoic mind is tempered, forever forged, not in ease, but in the fire of resistance. Each challenge becomes a lesson in humility, teaching us that we are not entitled to a smooth path, but we are responsible for how we walk the rough one. And in walking that rough path with courage and clarity, we learn how to turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones. Obstacles refine us. They expose the corners of our character that remain untested in comfort. They reveal the hidden fears, the fragile egos, and the impulses to retreat when things get tough. They illuminate the places within us where we have not yet grown strong, where our self-perception is fragile and our wisdom untested. But rather than breaking us, these challenges become the forge in which we choose who we want to be. They become the fires that burn away illusion, entitlement, and weakness, leaving behind something stronger, leaner, and clearer. When confronted with the unplanned and the unwanted, we stand at a crossroads, not just of action, but of identity. Do we shrink or rise? Do we become reactive or do we become wise? Do we allow the obstacle to diminish us, or do we allow it to become the raw material from which we carve a better version of ourselves? The more you face obstacles without complaint, without resentment, the more you realize that each challenge is a mirror reflecting your own weaknesses, strengths, and untapped potential. They become not burdens, but essential chapters in the story of your growth. Each obstacle, when embraced rather than resisted, becomes a sculptor's chisel shaping your character, stroke by stroke. The very moments you once cursed become the milestones of your transformation. The frustration becomes fuel. The setback becomes strategy. The pain becomes purpose. And as you begin to see each obstacle not as a wall, but as a window, a new lens through which to understand yourself and your environment, you unlock a clarity that no comfort can teach. You begin to see how every difficulty contains within it a message, a lesson, uniquely tailored to your blind spots and weaknesses. Each struggle becomes a spotlight, illuminating something within you that requires your attention. Whether it be impatience, pride, fear, or dependency, you realize that the obstacle is not an interruption to your path, but an integral part of your evolution. You develop an ability to step back and see not only what stands in your way, but how that very thing is pushing you towards strength, awareness, and maturity. What if I told you that the very challenges you try to avoid are actually the key to your growth? What if instead of resisting friction, you embraced it, knowing it would refine you into the person you're meant to become? Let's explore how obstacles can transform from burdens into teachers and how you can begin to harness their lessons. You begin to recognize that it is in the tension, the frustration, and the unexpected friction that you grow most. The obstacle, rather than being a barrier, becomes an invitation to pause, reflect, and deliberately choose your next step with wisdom rather than impulse. It becomes an exercise in humility and curiosity, encouraging you to ask, what is this moment here to teach me? How can this difficulty refine me rather than define me? You learn that what stands in your way is not merely something to endure, but something to absorb, analyze, and integrate. It is not just something you have to tolerate until it passes, but something you can actively engage with, extracting its lessons as a miner extracts gold from the rock. The obstacle, once feared, becomes the teacher that sharpens your mind, strengthens your will, and deepens your calm. It becomes the ground upon which you build your steadiness, integrity, and strength for the road ahead. The obstacle becomes the hidden ally, disguised as adversity, guiding you, whether you recognize it or not, toward your greatest potential. And in time, you will look back on these moments not with resentment, but with gratitude. You will realize that it was the obstacles, the discomfort, and the resistance that forged the person you became. Without them, the strength you now possess would have remained dormant, untested, and unseen. You will understand that the obstacle was not only the way, it was the essential catalyst for your transformation. The next time something goes wrong, pause. Before reacting, say aloud, "This is my training." Watch how your perception shifts when you view hardship as a lesson, not a punishment. Now let's shift our focus to something equally crucial in this journey, the fortress of your attention. If you can learn to control where your attention goes, you can reshape your inner world. Your attention is the gatekeeper of your inner life. The objects of your attention, whether people, ideas, or tasks, inevitably influence your character. Where your attention flows, your energy follows. And where your energy flows, your life takes shape. What you repeatedly allow into your field of awareness becomes the architecture of your inner world. The The Stoics guarded their attention ruthlessly. They understood that to allow gossip, outrage, or triviality into the mind was to pollute their inner peace. They likened the mind to a garden and attention to the water that nourishes it. If you water weeds, anger, envy, fear, those are what will flourish. But if you water discipline, clarity, and courage, then your inner garden will grow strong and beautiful. The Stoics believed that whatever you allow to grow in your mind will over time become the dominant landscape of your soul. Today we live in an age of infinite distraction. News feeds, arguments, advertisements, all competing to hijack your attention. Each ping on your phone, each headline you read, each scroll through social media is a transaction. It's a trade of your awareness for stimulation. But most of that stimulation is designed not to uplift or educate, but to provoke and agitate. It saps your energy, fractures your focus, and erodes your calm. We are pulled in 1,000 directions every hour, and each pull, though seemingly small, gradually chips away at our ability to maintain inner stillness. These distractions are not neutral. Every click, every scroll, every headline is training your mind to jump, to react, to crave novelty. Every little tug on your attention is a thread that over time unravels the fabric of your inner stillness. By learning to guard your attention, you start to reclaim your peace and focus. Each time you consciously redirect your energy from the noise to what truly matters, you fortify your mind, making it more resilient to the chaos of the world. What if I told you that the distractions surrounding you every day aren't just nuisances, they're actually robbing you of your mental clarity and peace? What if by simply taking control of where you place your attention, you could unlock a deeper focus, a calmer mind, and ultimately, a more deliberate life? Let's explore how distractions are silently eroding your ability to think clearly, and how you can take back control. The Stoics would have seen this constant barrage of distractions as mental pollution, a form of chaos that invades your inner sanctuary without consent. It is a slow erosion of the mental clarity required for calm and composure. And the more you expose yourself to it, the harder it becomes to return to clarity and peace. Like a river diverted by 1,000 tiny tributaries, your focus becomes scattered and shallow, unable to carve deeply into what truly matters. This is the hidden cost of distraction, the atrophy of your ability to think deeply, reflect honestly, and act deliberately. Every moment spent focused on the irrelevant is a moment you are not growing, not thinking, not reflecting. Often, it is the seemingly harmless distractions that are the most dangerous because they accumulate slowly, shaping your habits and attention span over time. The Stoics knew that clarity of thought requires the discipline of attention. If you do not direct your mind with intention, the world will direct it for you and not in your best interest. You'll find yourself living reactively, not intentionally. Your mental energy will be spent long before the real challenges of the day arrive, leaving you depleted and scattered when you need focus the most. In today's modern world, saturated with noise and stimuli, this fractured state is often rewarded. It offers infinite options to distract you from discomfort, to numb you from reflection, and to entertain you into apathy. But this is a trap. The more you indulge in mindless consumption, the harder it becomes to confront the real work of living well. The cultivation of virtue, the mastery of your thoughts, and the building of a resilient character. To train your mind to remain calm, you must first take control of what you allow into it. You must stand guard at the gates of your attention like a watchful sentinel. Your attention is not just a passive lens, it is an active force that shapes your reality. It determines whether your mind becomes a fortress of peace or a chaotic marketplace of distractions. Guard it like your most valuable resource, because it is. Let in only what strengthens your virtues, sharpens your thinking, and contributes to your inner stillness. Filter what you consume as carefully as what you eat or drink. Your mental diet will either nourish you or poison you over time. And when you begin to consciously curate what you expose your mind to, you will notice something remarkable. Your calm will no longer be so fragile, your thoughts no longer so scattered. You will discover a newfound spaciousness within your mind, a quietness that allows you to think clearly, act deliberately, and meet life with composure. You will begin to reclaim ownership of your attention, and in doing so, reclaim ownership of your life. This is not a one-time act, but a daily discipline. With every small act of mindful attention, you will find yourself becoming not only calmer, but freer. So, audit your daily information diet. Eliminate one source of negativity or distraction this week and replace it with something that strengthens your mind, a book, a lecture, or simply a moment of silence. Now that you've started reclaiming your attention, let's turn to something even more profound, the highest form of calm according to the Stoics, amor fati, or love of fate. Let's explore how embracing life's challenges with a sense of love and acceptance can lead to unparalleled peace. The highest form of calm is not passive acceptance, but active embrace. The Stoics called it amor fati, love of fate. This is not resignation to misery or a fatalistic shrug. No, it is an act of courage and supreme clarity. To love your fate is to welcome each event, each twist and turn of your life, not as an intruder, but as a vital piece of the greater mosaic of your existence. It is one thing to endure hardship, but it is another to say, I welcome this, for it is fuel for my growth. The Stoics believed that it is not enough to simply tolerate what life throws at you. You must lean into it. Embrace the obstacles, the discomfort, and the resistance. It is in doing so that you grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. You see, the challenges you face are not there to break you, but to shape you into who you are meant to become. By loving your fate, you transcend the ordinary and step into the extraordinary, where calm is not just the absence of difficulty, but the active embracing of life's flow, whatever that may bring. What if I told you that true peace doesn't come from the world changing around you, but from how you choose to respond to it? The Stoics believed in the transformative power of accepting life as it comes, no matter how challenging. Let's explore how loving your fate can turn even the toughest situations into opportunities for growth and resilience. To love your fate is to stop arguing with reality, to cease the futile resistance against what has already happened, and instead to embrace it as the very material from which you will shape your virtue. It is a practice of radical acceptance, an audacious act of making peace with the raw, unchangeable facts of existence and then transforming them into something meaningful. This principle asks you to recognize that life does not happen to you, it happens for you. Every struggle, every betrayal, every disappointment, and every unexpected loss becomes a lesson in disguise, a hidden gift that can teach you endurance, humility, patience, and strength. Even when the world feels unjust or senseless, amor fati invites you to look deeper and see how these seemingly random events can serve your growth. It's not about pretending that pain is pleasant, but realizing that even pain is purposeful when approached with the right mindset. By loving your fate, you step out of the role of victim and into the role of creator. You use the raw materials of misfortune to craft wisdom. You realize that the most challenging chapters of your life are often the ones that shape your character most profoundly. What once appeared as obstacles reveal themselves to be essential ingredients in the making of a strong, resilient, and wise soul. Amor fati is not blind optimism. It is clear-eyed courage to look at everything life hands you and say, I will make something good out of this. Friedrich Nietzsche, heavily influenced by the Stoics, said, my formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. To practice amor fati is to meet every sunrise and every storm with the same spirit, gratitude. Gratitude not because it is easy or pleasant, but because it is necessary, because it is yours. It is to see that what happens to you is not in your control, but how you choose to respond is. It is to meet every challenge with a quiet resolve that whispers, this too belongs to me. I will shape it. I will grow from it. I will let it make me better, not bitter. The serenity you seek is not on the other side of changed circumstances. It is waiting for you in the choice to say, this too belongs to me and I will make something worthy out of it. And when you make that choice repeatedly, something extraordinary happens. You no longer fear what life may bring because you know you can transform anything into fuel for your own becoming. Each morning, repeat this mantra, whatever happens today, I will welcome it as necessary for my growth. Observe how this reframes your daily struggles. Now that we've explored the power of embracing your fate, let's look at another profound Stoic practice, the Stoic pause. This simple yet powerful technique can help you reclaim control over your reactions and restore your inner calm. One of the simplest yet most powerful techniques the Stoics taught was to delay reaction. It may sound almost too simple to be effective, but within it lies the key to breaking the chain of impulse that enslaves so many of us. Because it is in that split second, that moment, between what happens to you and how you choose to respond, that you either surrender your mind to chaos or reclaim it with calm authority. In that fleeting instant, you either become a prisoner to your reflexes or a master of your mind. When insulted, pause. When angered, pause. When anxious, pause. When life throws its darts at you before you lift your shield or hurl one back, pause. That pause is not weakness, it is strength. It is a deliberate act of reclaiming sovereignty over your emotions, a conscious interruption of the reflexive chain reaction that would otherwise lead you to say or do something you may regret. In that pause, you reclaim control of the situation. You choose your response instead of being swept away by impulse, and in doing so, you maintain your calm, your dignity, and your sense of self. It is a small but profound act of mastery over yourself, the key to remaining steady in a world that often tries to shake you. What if I told you that true power lies not in how the world affects you, but in how you choose to respond to it? The Stoics understood that the space between stimulus and response is where your freedom resides. Let's dive into how mastering that space can give you the ultimate control over your life. The Stoics knew that the world's provocations cannot harm you unless you allow them to. but your own unguarded reactions. They can wound you deeply. Between stimulus and response lies a space where your freedom resides. But this space doesn't appear automatically. It must be cultivated, stretched and fortified through practice. This skill is earned day by day, moment by moment, in the quiet arena of self-awareness. Every time you choose to pause, you expand that space a little further. You create room for wisdom to step in before habit takes over. You make space for your better judgment, your higher nature, to speak louder than your reflexes. In this space, you give yourself one of the rarest gifts in modern life, the gift of choice amidst chaos. Most people react without thinking, becoming prisoners of habit and impulse, caught in the endless chain of cause and effect. But the Stoic understands that true power doesn't lie in dominating others, but in mastering oneself. This practice is like a muscle. At first it feels unnatural, difficult, even frustrating. You will forget to pause. You will catch yourself reacting too quickly. You will fail. And that is part of the training. Each failure is a lesson, an invitation to try again. You may pause too late or only after you've reacted poorly. But even that recognition is a sign of growth. With repetition, these small moments of reflection begin to carve new pathways in the mind. They reinforce the idea that you are capable of choosing a better response. You begin to see each moment of reactivity not as defeat, but as an opportunity, a reminder to try again and strengthen your resolve. Over time, with intentional effort, you will begin to notice that space opening up. You'll find yourself catching anger before it turns to rage, fear before it spirals into panic, insult before it becomes injury. And in that space, you'll discover clarity, composure, and calm, the very essence of Stoic mastery. This calm will no longer feel like a distant goal, but a companion that walks with you into every room, every challenge, every storm. It will become part of your emotional posture, your default stance amid stress. And beyond calm, you will discover something even more profound. The space you create is not just a pause between stimulus and response, it is the space in which you become who you are. It is the proving ground of your character, the workshop in which you sculpt the person you wish to be. In this space, you learn to respond with wisdom instead of instinct, with purpose instead of panic. Every pause, every act of restraint is a quiet declaration that you refuse to be ruled by anything outside yourself. In those moments of pause, you take responsibility for your own story. You stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of circumstance and become an author, choosing the next line, the next action, the next thought. You become the conductor of your internal orchestra rather than a single instrument played by emotion and noise. You grow increasingly fluent in the language of self-discipline. And in that fluency, you craft the music of your life with intention. The Stoic pause is more than a strategy. It is a philosophy in motion. What if I told you that the key to mastering your life lies not in controlling the world around you, but in controlling your reactions? What if embracing the pauses in life could unlock the greatest strength you've ever known? Let's dive into how the Stoic pause can help you live with purpose and clarity. It is the physical expression of your inner commitment to live with reason over reaction, courage over compulsion. The Stoic pause reminds you that you are not your impulses. You are not your anger, anxiety, or fleeting emotions. You are the one who notices them, the one who can choose whether to hold them or let them pass. This realization that you are not bound to your first thought or reaction creates a kind of spiritual freedom that few ever realize. It is in that space between stimulus and response where your virtue takes form. Every time you practice this pause, you are engraving into your soul the habit of calm, strength. You are creating the foundation of a life not governed by chaos, but by clarity and purpose. You are slowly, patiently, and powerfully becoming the kind of person who can be trusted with hardship, with responsibility, and with peace. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. That transformation born in the quiet courage of the pause is perhaps the most radical form of strength there is. For 1 week, practice the Stoic pause. Whenever you feel triggered, count slowly to 5 before responding. Observe how the urge to react often fades within that pause. This simple but powerful act of restraint builds the muscle of self-control, guiding you toward a life of deliberate action rather than impulsive reaction. Now that we've discussed the transformative power of the pause, let's explore another key Stoic practice, memento mori, the contemplation of mortality. Understanding our impermanence can reshape the way we live each day. The Stoics meditated daily on death, not to be morbid, but to clarify what truly matters. For them, the contemplation of mortality was not a grim exercise, but a spiritual and philosophical one. It served as an anchor, pulling them back to the essentials of life. It stripped away illusions and focused the mind like a sharp blade on what is actually within our control. They believed that to forget death is to drift aimlessly, to lose perspective on what is urgent versus what is simply loud. When you know you are dying, because we all are, you start paying attention to how you are living. Death is the greatest equalizer, and for the Stoics, it was the greatest motivator. Not a shadow to fear, but a light to live by, a reminder that every moment is a non-renewable resource. Seneca wrote, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." He pointed to the absurd contradiction we live by fearing small discomforts, as if they are fatal, yet wasting time as though we have infinite tomorrows. The Stoics wanted to turn this delusion on its head. By remembering the certainty of death, they sought to live more vividly, more intentionally, more awake. They saw death not as an end to be feared, but as a teacher, one that, if remembered daily, could strip away distractions, vanity, and procrastination. For them, every day could be their last, and that made every day precious. Death was the clearest lens through which to view life. To remember that you and everyone you know will die is to eliminate trivial concerns. The pettiness of arguments, the noise of social approval, and the endless hunger for more fade into insignificance when placed beside the truth that time is finite. When you meditate on death, you see how precious each moment is. You recognize how miraculous it is to breathe, to love, to choose. You become less reactive, less anxious about things that do not truly matter. You gain the power to prioritize with wisdom, to say no to distractions and yes to what nurtures your soul. Death teaches you to live on purpose, to stop wasting time on things that dull your spirit, and to move toward what makes you truly alive. By contemplating mortality, you bring a sense of urgency and clarity to each moment. You begin to live with intention, knowing that each breath is a gift and every action is an opportunity to shape your character. Memento mori isn't about fearing death. It's about using the awareness of it to live more fully and meaningfully. What if I told you that living fully isn't about avoiding hardship or discomfort, but about embracing it as a means of growth? The Stoics didn't chase calm for its own sake. They knew that true peace comes as a byproduct of living virtuously. Let's explore how pursuing virtue leads to an unshakable calm that exists no matter what life throws at you. It calls you to act, to express, to forgive, to engage. Memento mori sharpens the edges of your awareness and fuels your courage to live fully and honestly. It is not about becoming detached or indifferent. Rather, it's about becoming deeply alive. It is a call to presence, to clarity, and to courage. Memento mori reminds you that your time is limited and therefore infinitely valuable. It urges you to forgive more quickly, speak more truthfully, love more deeply, and risk more boldly. It's about living a life so rich in intention, so full of integrity, that if death came tomorrow, you could meet it not with regret, but with readiness. It transforms the fear of loss into a commitment to presence. To live in the shadow of death is to walk with light in your heart. And that light is the essence of calm, the radiance of a mind that no longer fears the inevitable, but uses it as fuel to live fully. In embracing death, the Stoics teach us how to embrace life completely courageously and with open eyes. Every night before sleep, remind yourself, I may not wake tomorrow. Let me leave today in peace. Having reflected on the clarity memento mori brings, let's now explore how the Stoics cultivated calm as a byproduct of living virtuously. It wasn't just about seeking peace, it was about aligning your actions with reason, discipline, and moral clarity. The Stoics did not pursue calm for its own sake. They pursued virtue. Calm was merely the byproduct of living rightly. To them, a tranquil mind was not an end goal, but a natural outcome of consistently aligning one's actions with reason, discipline, and moral clarity. Peace, in their view, was not found by escaping conflict or avoiding discomfort. It was discovered in the steadfast pursuit of excellence in character. It was earned through effort, through hard decisions, and through a life shaped around principle, not convenience. Calm was not a luxury they indulged in, but a natural consequence of doing what was right even when it was hard. To practice justice, courage, temperance, and wisdom is to build a mind untroubled by chaos. Justice gives you purpose beyond yourself. Courage anchors you when fear rises. Temperance keeps your desires in check, and wisdom guides you through uncertainty. These virtues form the bedrock of a resilient soul. When you wake each day and strive to live with integrity, when you speak the truth, even when it's hard, when you restrain your impulses and act with thoughtfulness, you are practicing the art of stability from within. Every virtuous action, no matter how small, is like a stone laid into the foundation of your inner fortress. You become harder to shake, more difficult to offend, more capable of acting with clarity in the midst of chaos. Calm arises not because the world has grown quiet, but because you have chosen to cultivate stillness in the middle of its noise. By focusing your energy on virtue, you protect yourself from being tossed around by external circumstances. You stop asking the world to change and start transforming how you meet it. You begin to take full responsibility for the way you experience life. The world remains chaotic, but you become unmoved. You walk through storms without letting the storm inside you. You become, as Marcus Aurelius said, like the promontory against which the waves continually break, and yet it stands firm. Living virtuously trains your mind to let go of what is petty and hold firm to what is true. You become more selective with your thoughts, more intentional with your words, and more deliberate in your actions. In doing so, you construct an inner temple, not one built of brick and stone, but one made of values strong enough to withstand the tempests of fortune. That is the Stoic promise, not a life without difficulty, but a life where difficulty refines you instead of destroying you, where hardship is not a curse but a proving ground, where every challenge becomes an invitation to practice the very virtues you claim to hold. And from that daily fire of virtuous effort, calm is born, quiet, unshakable, and entirely your own. It is the kind of calm that doesn't require silence or safety to exist. It walks with you through conflict, through loss, through uncertainty, and remains. It is not inherited and it cannot be borrowed. It must be built habit by habit, choice by choice, until it becomes your natural way of meeting the world. Each morning choose one virtue to embody that day. Write it down. Let it be your compass, the principle you consciously return to in every decision, every conversation, and every challenge you face. Reflect on why you've chosen it, whether it's patience, courage, humility, or discipline, and set a clear intention to live by it throughout the day. Remind yourself that the virtue you carry will influence not only how you act, but how you interpret and respond to everything that happens around you throughout the day. Whenever you feel your mind being pulled by distractions, frustrations, or emotional impulses, pause and recall the virtue you have chosen. Use it as an anchor to bring you back to yourself. In moments of stress or temptation, ask yourself, what would patience choose here? What would courage demand of me now? Let it become your internal standard, your filter for every thought and action. At the end of the day, take a few minutes to review how well you upheld that virtue. Acknowledge where you succeeded and where you fell short, not to judge yourself, but to learn. Over time, this simple, intentional practice will accumulate like drops of water filling a jar. And before you realize it, you will have shaped yourself into someone who does not simply know the virtues but lives them.